Can you talk to us about, what foods should we eat instead and how can we transition to that?
Yeah, so I find a lot of times as pet parents go on this journey and they start learning how to read pet food labels. I always recommend people start looking at what's in the food, reading those ingredients, learning about what it actually means. So that can give you a lot of information. And as people start doing that, they start realizing that the processed food is not good, right? We're the only profession that recommends processed food for the life of the pet. Like that's absolutely insane, right?
Mm,
And so when people start realizing that and they can do better, a lot of times they jump straight into a brand new diet. So they'll go from like a kibble to a raw. And then what happens? Their dog gets diarrhea, they're vomiting. You go to the vet, and the vet's like, you gave them E. coli poisoning. You should never feed raw. So there's a better way to do it. Slow and steady wins the race. You want to do small little changes over time. So we always, whenever we're looking at the diet, we have to go back to what's going on in the gut health. So we think about the microbiome, right? Trillions of bacteria, protozoa, fungi, viruses that all make up our pet's microbiome that should be working together. The thing is studies show that that actually changes whether we're feeding high carb diets, high meat diets, high fat diets. So if we go from a high carb diet, which is kibble, to a really high protein diet like raw or more of a fresh food diet that will be less processed, we need to do it slowly because we need to transition the microbiome, or otherwise we're going to get GI symptoms. So start adding in fresh foods. So lightly steamed greens, so kale, spinach, your Brussels sprouts, broccoli. So all of the really good phytonutrient filled foods that like feeding the rainbow for ourselves, those are safe and healthy for your dog. And I always recommend lightly steaming them because it's going to break down the cellulose. It's going to make it easier for them to digest. So start with a couple days a week. That's going to provide amazing health benefits. A 2005 study by Purdue University actually showed that just adding in leafy greens 3 times a week to a kibble based diet reduced cancer risk up to 90%. That's like so powerful. And so that's a great place to start. See how your dog starts doing with that. Start adding more water into the diet too. So if you're feeding a dry food diet, water is going to help with hydration. It helps with digestion. It's going to help them also with the texture change. So if you're going to a real food diet, you're going to a raw food diet, you want to start adding water in. But one of the cool things that you can do too is you can use things like raw goat's milk. You can use bone broth. So not only are those providing good digestive enzymes, a source of probiotics, but it also, like especially bone broth, has a lot of collagen. Collagen is great for helping to heal the GI lining when it's inflamed. So it's a great food source, once again, to help reduce inflammation that kibble-based diet probably contributed over the long term to your pet. So those are like a few simple tricks. Now, as you go through these diet changes, I always say start small, right? Start integrating that. And then as you're going to a brand new diet, do 25% new food mixed in with your 3/4, so 75% old food. You're going to do that for 3 to 5 days typically. If you notice excessive gas, any GI signs, loose stool, slow down the transition. So go longer. But if they're doing great, you're not seeing any problems, they are liking their food, they're finishing it, then go half and half, half new, half old, another 3 to 5 days. And then if they're doing great, then do 3/4 new, quarter old, and 3 to 5 days. And then you get to 100% new diet. And so I always recommend that when you're going from kibble to like a pre-made home cooked food or a freeze dried diet or a raw diet, we want to do that slow transition. So typically 2 weeks, if you have a sensitive pet, so like you feed them something different than their normal diet and they get diarrhea, vomiting, then make sure that transition takes a bit longer. But that's a great way, and that's how I guide my clients to make sure that we don't have that GI distress, because I don't want them to end up in the ER because then they're afraid to try something new and then they end up
Yeah.
staying on a diet that's not optimal long term.